So long to normality. Scene 7. Vincent wasn't gone very long. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even gone 2 minutes when Benjamin and I could hear Ma shouting, "What do you think you are doing out of bed? Do you want me to tell your father?" Our bedroom door flew open and in stormed Vincent, looking madder than ever. He looked to us and said, "Shut up." I didn't say nothing, I said. I couldn't believe what Benjamin said next. "Don't pay him no mind, he's just grumpy 'cause he has a wet diaper." This got me to roll up onto one elbow to see for myself, but I couldn't see anything 'cause Vincent still had his robe on. "I'm warning you." Vincent shook a fist toward Benjamin. Benjamin leaned close to my ear. It's true, I seen as he was putting on his robe, he peed his diaper. The veins popped out on Vincent's neck as his embarrassment and temper grew exponentially. Both of his fists are clenched tightly closed, and if Ma had not come in when she did, I expect that punches would have started flying at any second. Ma pointed at Vincent's bed or belt. Without answering, Vincent went to his dresser and pulled out a belt. He held it out to Ma and said, "I'd rather get a whoopin' than stay in here with them." With hands on hips, Ma stared at him for the longest time before grabbing the belt from him, throwing it to the floor, then grabbed his wrist and marched him out of our room. Benjamin looked utterly pleased with himself. His cheeks were puffed out and his eyes appeared cheerful as he blurted out, "That was the funniest thing I ever done seen." "You're insane, you know that?" I asked and plopped my face back into my pillow. "Yeah, but I like being crazy," he said and stuck his finger in my ear. "Stop it, you dork." I covered my ear so he couldn't do it again, and get back in your own bed before Ma comes back in. But Ma didn't return, at least not right away. It wasn't until just before supper time that we saw her or anyone again. Connie came into our room and quickly grabbed her mouth and nose. "Oh my goodness, Nevada, did you poop your bed?" she crowed. "No," I protested. "Ma must have been in the hallway 'cause she suddenly appeared and screwed up her face." "Benjamin, is that you?" I couldn't believe Benjamin's response. Sporting a devilish grin, he answered, "I pooed." Connie turned a nice shade of green just before running from our room. I suppose I couldn't smell it because I'd been in the room the whole time and my nose was used to it. Benjamin and I had been lying in our beds telling each other jokes and ghost stories all afternoon. He never once said anything about having messed himself, and I never smelled any sign of him having done so. "What are you doing in my bed?" Kristen was heard shouting from down the hallway. "Ma, Vincent is in my room." "I know he is, leave him alone," Ma sang back. Well, at least now Benjamin and I knew where Vincent had been all afternoon. Kristen came into our room complaining, "Ma, I got to change my clothes. I can't do it with him in there." Ma groaned, "Oh, Kristen, just get your clothes and change in the bathroom then." Kristen, seeing Benjamin laying on top of his covers with his diaper in plain view, took one whiff, reached up and plugged her nose. "Wow, that stinks," she said, waving her other hand in front of her face. "Need help with the babies?" Kristen said, which turned out to be the wrong thing to say at that second. Apparently Vincent had decided to abandon the girls' room and return to our room, but he had walked in when Kristen had said that. In a flash he was on her, punching, kicking and scratching. The whole thing lasted all of 3 seconds, but when Ma pulled Vincent off Catherine, we all could see that he was bleeding again, not from his forehead but from his arm where Kristen had sank her teeth into his upper arm. Pa was late getting home from the farmer's feed store, and after Ma told him what had happened, he stormed into our room, pulled Vincent from his bed and took him out of the house and into the barn. Benjamin and I didn't see either one of them again until the next day. Not long after the sun had set, Ma came in with Catherine in tow. Ma proceeded to change Benjamin's diaper, and she had instructed Catherine to put a diaper on me tonight. Ma's reasoning to her was, "You might as well start getting practice for when the baby comes." Catherine did a really good job of pinning a diaper on me without hurting my bottom at all. I was a little embarrassed when she started rubbing the diaper cream all over my diaper area, but when I looked across the room and saw Mom doing the same to Benjamin and I seen how he was smiling gleefully, I made up my mind that I wasn't going to be embarrassed about it. While Catherine was pinning the diaper on me, I got up the courage to ask, "Ma, is Christopher ever coming back again?" "Smilin'," she answered, "he and your father are going over tomorrow to talk with Megan's parents." "But where is Christopher sleeping?" Benjamin asked. "He's in the loft," Connie added. "Won't Pa let him in the house?" I asked. Ma made a clicking sound with her tongue. "It's not like that at all. Maybelle has the worms and has been tending to her," Ma reassured. Benjamin snorted at this and said, "Will we get worms since we drink her milk?" This idea disgusted Catherine to no end. "I had milk today for breakfast." Ma chuckled. "That wasn't from Maybelle, it was goat milk from the Guffey's place." I added, "I knew it tasted different." "How do you know?" "You had chocolate in your," Catherine said. "I could still tell," I argued. "That's enough," Ma said. Catherine held up 3 different pairs of plastic pants and asked, "Green, clear or fire trucks?" "I want the fire trucks," Benjamin squalled. I don't know why that embarrassed me so much, but it did. Catherine shrugged, tossed the plastic pants with the fire trucks on them over to Ma and then said, "I like the green ones, they remind me of Christmas." Our bedroom window was cracked about 2 inches and from outside we could hear music. Not just any music, it was the strumming of a guitar and the screeching of a violin. It was a good sign that Pa and Christopher were not all mad and fighting with each other about Christopher wanting to get married, at least not tonight. They were out in the barn playing music together, and as always happens when they play, Whiskey, PA's hunting dog, joins in and begins howling along. It was perplexing to be hearing Pa play his violin the way he was. I mean, after seeing how mad he was when he came for Vincent, I guess I didn't expect him to be playing such a happy kind of tune. That thought led me back to Vincent again, and I guess I wasn't the only one wondering where Pa had taken Vincent cause when I asked Catherine, and Benjamin wanted to know too. "Ma, where did Pa take Vincent? Did he throw him out of the house?" Benjamin asked stupidly. At least I thought it was stupid. "No, he didn't throw him out of the house, but never you mind about your brother right now," was Ma's reply. The next day we found out from Kristen that Pa had made Vincent and Kristen sleep on the floor of Ma and PA's room. Pa had told them both that if they are going to act like an animal, then they get to sleep on the floor like animals. The next day for breakfast, Benjamin, Vincent, and myself were allowed to eat breakfast at the table but had to return to our beds afterward. Vincent didn't say a single word to Benjamin and me all stinking day, and after a while we acted like he wasn't even there. Just as we'd done the day before, Benjamin and I told each other jokes, made up ghost stories and told about things we were going to do the next day. At dinner time that evening, Pa, Ma, and Christopher were absent. Connie had made supper and was left to watch the rest of us while they were gone over to the Griffiths. Pa had taken the night off at the feed store and all 3 of them had dressed in their Sunday best before leaving. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but when they all returned looking just as tidy as when they left, I had felt a little disappointed. I guess I had expected Pa to have got into a fist fight with Megan's pa, but that's not what happened at all. We were not told the details of what transpired, but later the next day I was able to put together this much. Our pa did a lot of yelling at first, and Megan's pa did his share of yelling too. Then both our ma and Megan's ma stepped in and told them to stop behaving like a couple stubborn mules. In the end, Megan's pa forbid Christopher and Megan to get married, and if they did, he'd have nothing to do with his daughter again. That was how it was left, and everyone thought that it was over between Christopher and Megan until the day that they both came up missing. 2 days after Vincent and Benjamin had crashed into each other, Doc Wilson had stopped by to check on Ma, who had been having some pains in her back. He gave my 2 brothers a look over and said that they looked like they both needed to be back in school. I don't think Vincent was too keen on the idea of going to school looking like a raccoon, but I think he was happy just to be able to get out of bed and get outside again. Benjamin, on the other hand, was more than excited with the notion of showing off his busted nose and grossing out all the girls at school. None of us realized at all that something was wrong with Ma, and I guess that's the way she and Pa wanted it up until that evening. All of us kids had been sent to our rooms while Doc Wilson talked to our Pa and Ma, but none of us went to our rooms. Everyone except for Christopher, who we thought was in the barn with Maybelle, had stopped on the steps and was listening. "I'm sorry to have to tell you this," Doc Wilson was saying, "but I don't like the sound of yours or the baby's heartbeats." "Is the baby okay?" Pa asked, sounding very concerned. "Well, I think with strict bed rest," Doc Wilson paused before adding, "and I mean strict," he continued, "you and the baby will be just fine." "She'll get it," Pa reassured. Ma started to protest, but Doc Wilson jumped in. "Listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You're to go to bed and you'll stay in bed until you deliver this baby, or the chances are high that you could lose this baby, and your family could possibly end up losing you." Despite the surety that we'd all be in big trouble when Pa seen us with saying a word, the six of us went down the stairs and into the living room, where we found Ma sitting in her rocking chair crying. Pa looked pretty dang angry, but Connie spoke up. "We all heard and we will help." Catherine added, "I will do all the washing, and I can make super and keep the house clean." "I will help," Kristen said, which Chaewin on the collar of her shirt. Benjamin, who was nearly in tears, "I want to help too." With a lump in my throat I added, "We all can help and you will be fine, Ma, you'll see." I looked up at Pa, expecting him to start yelling at us all for listening in when we were supposed to be in our rooms, but instead he had tears rolling down his face. He looked at Doc Wilson and then down to Ma and said, "She'll get all the rest she and the baby need. We'll see to it." Doc Wilson pulled out a handkerchief from inside his jacket pocket, blew his nose into it and said, that will be just fine." Pa reached out for Ma's hand. "Come on, let's get you to bed." Benjamin turned to face the rest of us. "Well, don't stand there, Ma needs lots of rest," and everyone, Ma and Pa included, laughed. Shortly after I had gone upstairs to get ready for bed, Pa called for me to come back downstairs. Whenever Pa calls for me at an unexpected time, the first thing I think is that I am probably in trouble for forgetting to do something. I climbed out of bed and went to see what he wanted. I found him in the kitchen holding the telephone receiver out for me. "You have a phone call," he sounded as shocked as I was. Not because of the time, but because I've never in my life had someone call just for, except like on my birthday when Granny would call to wish me a happy birthday. I took the receiver and placed it to my ear. "Hello," I said. "Hi, Nevada," the voice screamed into the other end of the phone. "Who is this?" I asked and got popped in the back of the head. "You know better than that," Pa said. "Sorry, Pa," I whispered with my hand over the receiver. "Sorry, can I ask who's calling?" I said nicer. "Nevada." "It's me, Nugget," the voice seemed again. "Nugget?" I said, not really believing it was him at first. "Yeah, how are you?" He didn't leave me a chance to reply before blurting out, "Hey, I just asked your father if it was okay to come over tomorrow and I just had to tell you. I hope you are okay now. Are you okay?" He actually paused. Yeah, I am okay," I said, not really understanding why he was coming over and why he had been talking to my Pa. "Okay, good, then we'll see you tomorrow. Bye." Nugget shouted into the phone and then hung up. I looked up at Pa. He hung up. Pa smiled. I know, I could hear him. After handing the receiver back to Pa, I rubbed my ear and said, "Dang, Pa, my ear is going buzz." I got popped in the back of my head again, but not nearly as hard. "Boy, you best forget you ever learned that word." "Which?" "Buzz," I asked, knowing full well which word he meant. I tried to get away from him before he tried to pop the back of my head again, but he was faster than me and caught me by the back of the neck, pulled my head backwards and kissed my forehead. "Don't let it go to your head, but I love you, son," he said with half a smile. Hey Pa, I asked as he pushed me toward the steps. What son? He said, still using his humorous voice. Why did Nugget call you first? I asked. Pa pulled down his eyebrows like he were angry, but I knew better. He didn't, his daddy did. Now get your backside to bed before I warm it up for you. I quick-stepped to the bottom of the stairs but stopped again. Pa. Boy. Pa said, pointing at me like he was about to get after me. A lump popped up in my throat. Is Mama going to be okay? PA's eyes went all glassy. Your ma is going to be just fine. Don't you worry none t all. Now git, he said and smiled again. I smiled back and took off up the steps but stopped about halfway up, turned and went back to the bottom step. Pa was sitting at the table already and was reading a piece of paper. Pa. I called softly. Pa looked up and I knew this time his look was serious. I love you too, Pa, I said and flew up the steps using my hands and my feet as though I were climbing a ladder.